Maylord, her husband, arrived in rags, but the cowboy's daughter saw his worth and married him. Red Mesa Prime was not a place for soft dreams. It was a wide, red world under two pale moons, where wind never stopped and dust could turn the sky the color of rust. The people who lived there were the kind who fixed broken things with wire, saved water like gold, and judged strangers fast. On this frontier, ranch life was still ranch life, just with solar fences, metal cattle, and skytrains that came only when the schedule allowed. Elias Carter owned one of the last true ranches outside the settlement of Dry Creek Station. He was a cowboy in every way that mattered. Boots worn down at the heel, hat stained by sun, hands hard from work. His ranch sat on the edge of the canyon lands, where the ground dipped into deep cracks and strange stones glowed faintly at night. Elias didn't talk much about why he stayed so far from town. People knew enough. His wife had passed years ago. Since then, he worked like a man trying to outrun grief. He raised his daughter, Lena, to be strong, careful, and smart. She grew into the kind of young woman who could ride a hover saddle, repair a water line, and still carry kindness in her eyes. But even strength had limits. The ranch needed help. The old irrigation grid coughed and stuttered. The robotic cattle, iron longhorns, Elias called them, needed constant maintenance. And lately the night sky had been acting wrong. Lights would appear far beyond the mesas, moving slow like lanterns in a river. The animals would get restless. The fence alarms would click on, then off, like someone was testing them. Elias didn't like mysteries. Mysteries meant trouble. One morning he sat at the kitchen table with a thin cup of coffee and a stack of overdue supply bills. Lena walked in, her hair tied back, dust on her sleeves, a tool belt slung over her hip. "You were up before sunrise again?" Elias said, not looking up. "The east fence was down," Lena replied. "Storm pushed the post over. I set it straight." Elias grunted. That was his way of saying thank you. Lena poured herself water, then glanced at the bills. "We can stretch the food order one more week," she said carefully. Elias tapped the paper with one finger. "Stretching isn't the same as solving." Lena didn't argue. She had learned that arguing with her father was like arguing with the wind. It just made you tired. That afternoon, a message came through the ranch comm unit. The screen flickered, then showed the face of a shipping clerk from Dry Creek Station. The clerk looked bored, as if he had delivered the same bad news 100 times. "Carter Ranch," the clerk said. "Your mail order contract is active. Arrival today, 1 unit." Elias straightened in his chair. "1? That's what the system confirmed," the clerk replied. "Shuttles dropping at your landing pad in 2 hours." Elias' jaw tightened. He didn't like the mail order system. He didn't like how people treated it like buying tools from a catalog. But it was legal on Red Mesa Prime, and a lot of frontier families used it, sometimes for company, sometimes for help, sometimes for both. Elias had signed up for one reason only. The ranch needed another pair of hands. Lena deserved more than a life spent fighting broken machines and lonely nights. Elias had hoped a steady man might come, someone who could work, who wouldn't run from hard weather, who could stand beside them instead of leaning on them. Lena heard the message too. She leaned against the doorway, quiet. "You didn't tell me you confirmed it," she said. "I didn't want you worrying," Elias replied. Lena gave him a long look. "I worry anyway." Elias stood and grabbed his hat. "Let's go see what the system sends." The landing pad sat beyond the barn, a flat slab of black stone with faded paint lines. Heat shimmered above it. The air smelled like sun-baked metal. When the shuttle arrived, it was small and loud, its engines whining like an angry animal. Dust lifted in a thick cloud. Lena covered her mouth as the ramp dropped down. 3 people stepped out. 2 were station workers carrying crates. The third was the mail order arrival. He was tall but thin, and his clothing looked like it had survived too many miles. His boots were scuffed. His coat was patched. A simple bag hung from his shoulder. He paused at the bottom of the ramp as if the ground itself felt unfamiliar. Elias took one look and felt disappointment hit like a stone. This man didn't look like help. He looked like a problem. The station worker cleared his throat. "Sir, this is Rowan Hale," he said, reading from a tablet. "Contracted partner and labor agreement. Records show he's cleared for frontier placement." Rowan didn't smile. He didn't bow. He simply nodded once, as if he had learned not to waste energy on greetings that might not be returned. Elias stepped forward. "You arrive with rags and a bag," Elias said. "Where's the rest of your gear?" Rowan's eyes lifted to meet his. They were calm, a steady gray that didn't match the ragged coat. "I have what I need," Rowan said. His voice was quiet, but it was not weak. Lena watched him closely. She expected him to get defensive or embarrassed, but he didn't. He looked tired, yes, but there was something controlled about him, like a person who had been through worse than a rough landing. The workers unloaded the crates, got their signatures, and left quickly. Frontier deliveries were never social visits. The shuttle lifted back into the sky and vanished into the bright haze. Silence settled over the ranch. Elias pointed toward the house. "Come on," he said. "You can eat, then we'll see if you can work." Rowan followed without complaint. Inside, the house was simple. Old wood panels mixed with newer metal supports. A small heater hummed in the corner. The kitchen smelled like beans and dry bread. Lena had learned to cook from her mother's old notes, and she made the same meals again and again because ingredients were limited. She served a bowl to Rowan. He thanked her softly and ate slowly like someone who had learned not to rush food. Elias watched him with sharp eyes. "What's your skill?" he asked. "Cattle, fence, water system, drones." Rowan swallowed and wiped his mouth with a napkin. "I can repair machinery," he said. "I can program basic systems." Elias raised an eyebrow. "And you ended up as mail-order labor." Rowan hesitated for the first time. "I needed a place that didn't ask too many questions." Elias didn't like that answer. "We don't have room for secrets," he said. Rowan's gaze didn't move. "Then you should cancel the contract," he replied, still calm. Lena looked between them, feeling the tension build like a storm forming over open land. Elias leaned back, crossing his arms. "We'll see how you do first." After lunch, Elias took Rowan outside and pointed at the irrigation pump near the well. It was old and loud. The display panel flickered, and one of the pressure lines kept dropping. "That pump fails and half the west field goes dry," Elias said. "Fix it." Rowan crouched beside the panel and removed the cover. He didn't complain about the heat. He didn't ask for tools. He opened his bag, pulled out a small multi-tool and a worn data plug, and began to work. Lena stood nearby, pretending to sort spare parts, but really she was watching him. He moved with careful focus, not fast, not showy, precise. He studied the wiring like he was reading a language. He traced one line, then another. He cleaned a corroded connector, then adjusted a valve. After 15 minutes, the pump's sound changed. It stopped coughing. The display stabilized. The pressure line held steady. Elias blinked. "That's better," he admitted. Rowan didn't look up. "The filter is worn," he said. "It will fail again in 3 weeks, maybe sooner if the storms stay strong." Elias frowned. "How do you know?" Rowan finally looked at him. "Because the data history is stored in the panel," he said. "Someone just has to read it." Elias didn't reply. He didn't like being reminded that some answers were simple if you knew where to look. As the day went on, Elias tested Rowan again and again. A broken fence sensor, a drone that refused to return to base, a water recycler with a stuck valve. Rowan handled each problem quietly. He didn't brag, he didn't act proud. He fixed, adjusted, improved, and moved on. The ranch began to feel different, like the whole place could breathe again. By sunset, Lena walked out to the barn and found Rowan sitting on an overturned bucket, repairing a cracked saddle clamp with a strip of metal. "You didn't have to keep working," Lena said. Rowan glanced at the sky. 2 moons were rising. "If I stop, I think too much," he replied. Lena sat on a hay bale, keeping a respectful distance. "My father is hard on people," she said. "I noticed," Rowan replied, and for the first time the corner of his mouth lifted slightly. Not a full smile, just enough to show he understood. Lena studied him. "Why did you come here?" she asked. "Really?" Rowan's hands paused. He stared at the clamp as if the metal held the answer. "I used to work for people who build things," he said slowly. "Big things. Expensive things." Lena leaned forward a little. "Like what?" Rowan didn't answer right away. He looked toward the canyon lands where shadows grew long. "Things that can change a world," he said. That was all. The wind picked up, carrying dust across the yard. Somewhere beyond the ridge, a faint light blinked in the darkening sky, too slow to be a star, too steady to be lightning. Rowan noticed it. His eyes narrowed. Lena followed his gaze. "You've seen that before?" she asked. Rowan's face went still. "No," he said, but the word didn't sound true. From inside the house, Elias called Lena's name. She stood, brushing dust from her hands. Rowan returned to the clamp, working again like he could hide his thoughts in the motion. Lena walked back toward the house, but she kept glancing over her shoulder. The man who arrived in rags had repaired more in one day than anyone else had done in weeks. He had not asked for praise. He had not begged for acceptance. Yet there was something guarded in him, like he carried a storm inside and didn't want it to touch anyone. As Lena stepped onto the porch, the strange light in the distance blinked again, then disappeared behind the mesa. And for the first time in a long while, Lena felt sure of one thing. Rowan Hale was not just passing through. He had come to Red Mesa Prime for a reason. And whatever that reason was, it was getting closer to their ranch every night. The next morning, Red Mesa Prime woke up angry. Wind struck the ranch like it was trying to shake it apart. Dust rolled over the fields in waves, and the two moons were still pale in the sky, fading slowly as the sun climbed. The iron longhorns stood close together near the barn, their metal bodies clicking softly as their sensors adjusted to the storm. Elias Carter was already outside, checking the solar fence line with a scanner. He did not like storms. Storms hid problems until it was too late. Lena stepped onto the porch with a scarf over her mouth. She saw Rowan near the well house, crouched beside the pump he had repaired. He was inspecting the pressure readout, as calm as if the air was clear and the wind was quiet. Elias noticed him too. "He's up early," Elias muttered. "He works," Lena replied. Elias grunted again, the same half-thank, half-warning sound. Rowan looked up when Lena approached. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she replied. "You didn't sleep." "I slept enough." Rowan tightened a bolt and stood. "The pump is holding." Lena nodded, then glanced toward the horizon. Dust blurred everything into a red fog. "Looks like the storm's going to last." Rowan's eyes tracked the fence line. "Then it's a good day to find weak spots," he said. That was exactly how Elias thought too, even if Elias would never admit it. By midday, the storm eased a little. It did not stop, but it softened like a beast that had run out of breath. Elias called Rowan to the barn. "I got a job for you," Elias said. Rowan followed without hesitation. Inside the barn, the air smelled of oil and hay. A small drone sat on a workbench, its wings bent and its camera cracked. Elias pointed at it. "Raiders hit Old Man Dorsey's place 2 nights ago. They dropped this drone in the dirt. He gave it to me, said if anyone can get it talking, it's us." Rowan studied the drone. "If it belongs to raiders, you want to use it to track them." Elias' eyes narrowed. "Can you?" Rowan didn't answer with pride. He simply took off his coat, rolled up his sleeves, and began carefully opening the drone's body. Lena leaned on the doorway, watching. She liked how Rowan treated machines like living things, gentle, patient. He didn't yank wires or smash panels. He listened. After an hour, the drone powered on. Its lights blinked. A soft chime came from its speaker. Elias' mouth tightened in surprise. "You fixed it." Rowan looked at the screen. "Not fixed, woken up. It's still locked." He pulled out his small data plug and connected it to the drone. Lines of code scrolled on his wrist reader. Lena didn't understand the symbols, but she understood the way Rowan's eyes moved. He was not guessing, he was reading. Then Rowan paused as if something caught his attention. "What?" Lena asked. Rowan's fingers slowed. "The drone has a secondary system," he said quietly. "It's not standard for raiders." Elias stepped closer. "Meaning?" Rowan disconnected the plug and looked at Elias. "Meaning whoever built this wanted it to look cheap, but it's not." Elias' face hardened. "So it's not raiders?" Rowan stared at the drone as if it could speak the truth. "Raiders don't design this clean. This is professional." A heavy silence filled the barn. The wind rattled the roof. Lena felt a cold feeling crawl up her arms, the strange lights in the sky. The fence alarms clicking on and off. Now this drone, something was circling them. Elias finally spoke. "Can you trace where it came from?" Rowan nodded slowly. "If I break the lock, yes." "Do it," Elias said. Rowan worked for another hour. His hands remained steady, but Lena noticed his jaw was tight now. He was no longer just fixing a machine. He was fighting something. Finally, the drone's memory opened. A map flashed on the wrist reader. It showed a flight path starting far beyond the canyon lands in a place that was marked only as a blank zone. Elias frowned. "That's dead territory." "Dead territory doesn't send drones," Rowan replied. Lena leaned in. "What's there?" Rowan's gaze stayed on the map. "Old mining tunnels. Some were sealed, some collapsed, some," he hesitated. "Some connect to deeper things." Elias didn't like that. "Deeper things?" Rowan shut the wrist reader. "I don't know yet." That night, the storm cleared completely. The sky opened wide, full of sharp stars. The ranch felt exposed under that massive darkness. Lena stepped outside after dinner. She found Rowan sitting on the fence rail looking toward the canyon lands. His coat was pulled around his shoulders. The wind was cooler now. "You're always watching the horizon," Lena said. Rowan didn't turn. "Habit." Lena rested her arms on the fence. "From where you used to work?" Rowan's eyes stayed forward. "Yes." Lena waited. She didn't push, but she didn't leave either. Silence made people talk if you gave it time. Rowan finally spoke. "I wasn't always poor," he said. "I had a clean uniform once, a badge, a room with safe walls." Lena looked at him. "So what happened?" Rowan took a breath. "I worked for a corporate fleet. They build ships, weapons, sensors, all kinds of systems. They send them to colonies like this and say it's for protection." Elias stepped onto the porch behind them. He had come out quietly, likely to check the fence again, but he stopped when he heard Rowan speaking. Rowan continued, not noticing at first. "At first I believed it, then I learned the truth." Lena's voice was soft. "What truth?" Rowan's hands gripped the fence rail. "Some companies don't protect colonies, they control them, they create fear, then sell safety. They create problems, then sell solutions." Elias stepped closer. His boots thudded on the ground. "You saying those lights, those drones, might be that kind of problem?" Rowan turned his head toward Elias. His eyes were steady again, but tired. "I can't prove it yet," he said. "But this drone's design feels familiar." Elias' face went tight. "If you worked for them, why would they let you go?" Rowan's voice lowered. "They didn't." Lena's heart jumped. "What do you mean?" Rowan looked up at the stars. "I left, quietly. I refused to finish a project. I took nothing but what I could carry. I thought if I went far enough, they wouldn't bother." Elias' voice was rough. "And you chose my ranch to hide?" Rowan met his eyes. "I didn't choose your ranch, the system placed me, but when I arrived, I saw you needed help." And his gaze flickered toward Lena for a brief moment. "I saw people who still live honest." Lena felt her face warm, but she stayed calm. She didn't want to scare that honesty away. Elias didn't soften. "If trouble follows you here, you put my daughter at risk." Rowan nodded once. "That's fair." Lena stepped forward. "He's been helping us," she said. "He fixed the pump, he fixed the drone, he hasn't asked for anything." Elias stared at Rowan as if measuring him. "Work is good," Elias said, "but work doesn't tell me if a man is safe." Rowan's voice was quiet. "I can't change my past, but I can choose what I do now." Before Elias could respond, the fence alarm chirped. All three froze. The alarm chirped again, 2 short bursts. Lena felt a chill. "That's the west fence," she said. Elias moved fast, grabbing his scanner from the porch. "Stay back," he ordered Lena automatically, but Lena was already moving, grabbing her coat. Rowan stepped down from the rail and followed. They rode out on 2 hover saddles, Elias on one, Lena on the other. Rowan sat behind Lena, holding on to the saddle grip, not her. Lena noticed that. Even in danger, he kept boundaries, respect. The hover engines hummed as they skimmed above the red grass. The west fence line came into view. One post leaned outward. A section of solar mesh had been cut cleanly, not torn. Elias swore under his breath. "That's not storm damage." Rowan jumped down and crouched beside the cut edge. He ran his fingers near it without touching. "Heat cut," he said. Lena's eyes widened. "Like a laser." Rowan nodded. Elias lifted his scanner, sweeping the area. "No life signs." Rowan pointed toward the ground. "Tracks." Lena looked and saw faint marks like thin metal feet, not boots, not animal prints. Rowan's voice dropped. "Small walkers," he said. "2-legged drones, quiet." Elias' hands tightened around the scanner. "Why would they come to my fence and leave?" Rowan stood slowly, eyes on the dark line of the canyon in the distance. "Maybe they weren't leaving," he said. "Maybe they were testing." The air felt suddenly too silent. Even the wind had died. Lena swallowed. "Testing what?" Rowan's gaze was sharp now. "Testing how fast you respond," he said. "Testing what you use, testing who you are." Elias glanced at Rowan. "And why?" Rowan's answer was simple and heavy. "Because they're planning something." They repaired the fence quickly, reinforcing it with extra mesh and reprogramming the alarm sensitivity. Rowan worked beside Elias like he had lived here for years, handing tools, adjusting wires, watching the horizon. On the ride back, Lena felt Rowan's focus behind her. He wasn't relaxed. He was alert, like a man who recognized a pattern he didn't want to be real. Back at the ranch house, Elias pulled Rowan aside near the barn. "If you know these people," Elias said, "then you help me protect this ranch. No half-truths." Rowan nodded. "I will." Elias' eyes were hard. "And if you bring danger here," Rowan interrupted, calm but firm, Then I won't run, he said. I'll stand and fix what I can. Elias studied him for a long moment. Then he turned away, not ready to accept him, but no longer able to dismiss him. Later that night, Lena lay awake in her room, listening to the quiet hum of the ranch systems. Outside her window, the stars looked cold and far. In the distance, beyond the canyon lands, a faint light blinked once, steady and controlled. Lena thought about Rowan arriving in rags, judged by everyone before he even spoke. She thought about how he fixed things without being asked, how he respected her space, how he looked at the sky like it held memories. She realized something important. Rowan was not weak. He was careful, and careful men survived longer than loud ones. But the way the fence had been cut, the way the drone had hidden professional hardware, the way the lights kept returning, none of it felt like random trouble anymore. It felt like someone had marked their ranch on a map. And Lena knew, deep in her gut, that the next time the alarm chirped, it would not be a test. The night after the fence was cut felt different. Red Mesa Prime was quiet, but it was not peaceful. The wind had calmed, yet the air carried a strange heaviness, like the world was waiting for something to happen. The iron longhorns stood close to the barn, their sensors flickering softly. Even the insects that usually clicked in the grass seemed silent. Lena stood near the porch railing, watching the horizon. The canyon lands stretched dark and endless in the distance. Somewhere out there, someone had tested their ranch. Rowan walked toward her from the workshop, wiping grease from his hands with a cloth. He had spent most of the evening adjusting the ranch's old security system. Small motion sensors now lined the fence, and extra lights had been installed around the barn. "You should sleep," Lena said quietly without turning. Rowan leaned against the railing beside her. "You should too," she smiled faintly. "Neither of us will." Rowan didn't deny it. From inside the house, Elias moved heavily, his boots echoing on the wooden floor. He had been restless since the fence incident. Elias Carter trusted only what he could see, and what he saw now was danger creeping closer. "You think they'll come tonight?" Lena asked. Rowan stared at the dark horizon. "I don't know," he admitted, "but whoever cut that fence was studying us." "That means they'll return eventually." Lena crossed her arms. "You said the drone felt familiar." Rowan nodded slowly. "Yes, the design, it reminds me of corporate scouts. They gather data quietly before bigger moves." "Why this ranch?" she asked. Rowan hesitated. "Location. Resources, isolation, easy to pressure." Lena didn't like that answer. Suddenly, a soft beep sounded from Rowan's wrist reader. Both of them froze. Rowan checked the screen. "Motion sensor," he said. "North fence." Inside the house, Elias heard too. He stepped onto the porch with a long, scanning rifle slung over his shoulder. His face was calm but sharp. "Let's move," Elias said. They rode out again under the pale light of the moons. The hover saddles glided low over the ground, engines humming softly. As they approached the north fence, Rowan lifted his hand. "Stop," he said. Elias slowed. Rowan pointed ahead. 3 small shapes moved near the fence line, not animals, not people, 2-legged drones. They were thin, metallic, and quiet, their eyes glowing faint blue. Elias cursed under his breath. "You were right." The drones paused as if sensing them. One turned toward the riders. Rowan raised his voice calmly. "Don't fire yet." Elias frowned but waited. The drones scanned briefly, then began retreating toward the canyon, moving quickly but smoothly. "They're collecting data," Rowan said, "not attacking." Elias lowered the rifle slightly. "We let them go." Rowan's eyes narrowed. "If we destroy them now, whoever sent them learns we're prepared. If we follow, we learn where they go." Lena felt a mix of fear and excitement. "You want to track them?" Rowan nodded. Elias hesitated only a moment before agreeing. "Stay close." They followed at a distance, careful not to trigger alarms in the drones. The machines moved through narrow paths toward the canyon edge. The ground sloped downward into dark rock formations. After nearly 20 minutes, the drones disappeared into a crack between 2 cliffs. Elias stopped the saddle. "That's old mining territory," he said. Rowan stared at the opening. "Yes, and probably their base." Lena's heartbeat quickened. "Are we going inside?" Elias shook his head. "Not tonight," Rowan agreed. "We need preparation first." They returned to the ranch silently. Back at the house, Elias poured coffee for all 3 of them. The smell filled the kitchen, warm and familiar despite the growing danger. Elias sat across from Rowan. "You said you worked for corporations like this," he said. "Tell me how they operate." Rowan took a slow breath. They don't rush, they watch. They gather information about defenses, routines, weaknesses. Then they send representatives to negotiate. If negotiation fails, they apply pressure. What kind of pressure? Lena asked. Legal claims, resource control, fear, Rowan replied. Sometimes they make problems appear so people agree to sell. Elia's jaw tightened. They want this land, Rowan nodded. Silence filled the room again. Finally, Lena spoke. Then we don't sell. Elias looked at her, surprised by her certainty. We built this place, she continued. Mom helped build it. We don't just hand it over because someone sends machines. Elias' expression softened slightly. Pride showed in his eyes. Rowan watched her quietly. Standing your ground has a cost, he said gently. Lena met his gaze. Running has a cost too. That made Rowan smile faintly. The next day, the ranch became a place of preparation. Rowan upgraded the security system using parts from broken drones. He installed hidden sensors along the canyon path and reinforced the main gate. Elias tested every tool they owned. Lena coordinated with nearby ranchers through the communication network, warning them about possible surveillance. Some neighbors believed her immediately. Others thought she was exaggerating. But by evening, one neighbor reported seeing strange lights near their own fence. The colony began to feel uneasy. Late that afternoon, a sleek shuttle appeared in the sky and descended toward Dry Creek Station. Rowan saw it first. His body went still. That's not a supply ship, he said quietly. Elias followed his gaze. Corporate, Rowan nodded. Lena felt a cold knot in her stomach. That evening, a message arrived from the station. Representatives wanted to meet ranch owners about development opportunities. Elias scoffed. They didn't waste time. Rowan's voice was calm but serious. They want you nervous before they arrive. Lena crossed her arms. We go to the meeting. Elias looked at her. You sure? Yes, she said. We listen, but we don't agree to anything. The next morning, they traveled to Dry Creek Station together. The town looked normal at first glance. Dusty streets, small shops, people moving slowly under the heat. But tension lingered in every conversation. Inside the meeting hall, several ranchers gathered. At the front stood two well-dressed corporate agents. Their clothes were clean, their smiles practiced. One agent stepped forward. We represent Horizon Development, he announced. Our company plans to bring prosperity to this region. Rowan stayed near the back, watching carefully. The agent continued. We are offering generous contracts to purchase land and upgrade infrastructure. Those who join early will benefit most. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Elias crossed his arms. Lena stood beside him. One rancher asked, What happens if we refuse? The agent's smile remained. Of course, participation is voluntary, but independent operations may face challenges as development progresses. Lena felt anger rise. It sounded like a threat wrapped in polite words. The agent's eyes moved across the crowd and stopped briefly on Rowan. Something flickered in his expression, recognition. Rowan's posture stiffened slightly. After the meeting ended, the crowd dispersed. Outside, Lena turned to Rowan. They know you, she said quietly. Rowan nodded once. Yes, Elias stepped closer. Friend or enemy? Rowan's answer was simple. Enemy. Lena felt the weight of that word settle deep. Back at the ranch that night, Elias sat on the porch staring at the stars. Rowan joined him after a while. You care about my daughter, Elias said suddenly. Rowan looked surprised but didn't deny it. Elias continued, If trouble comes, you stand beside her, not behind her. Rowan nodded firmly. I will. Inside the house, Lena watched them through the window. She felt something changing, not just danger approaching, but trust growing between them. The strange lights appeared again beyond the canyon, brighter than before. This time they did not blink away quickly. They stayed, and Lena realized the testing phase was ending. Something bigger was coming. The lights stayed in the sky all night. They hovered far beyond the canyon lands, steady and quiet like watchful eyes. Lena stood by her bedroom window long after midnight, unable to sleep. The ranch systems hummed softly around her, and the iron longhorns shifted restlessly in their enclosure. She knew this was no longer a test. Something had begun. Morning came slowly. The sun rose red over the mesas, painting long shadows across the ranch. Elias was already outside, adjusting the main gate controls. Rowan worked beside him, installing one last sensor near the barn. Neither man wasted words. The tension between them had changed. Elias no longer watched Rowan like an outsider. Now he watched him like a partner in a fight. Lena carried tools from the workshop, setting them near Rowan. "You think they'll come today?" she asked. Rowan tightened a bolt and stood. His eyes moved toward the canyon. "Yes," he said quietly. "They showed themselves last night." "That means they're ready to talk or to pressure." Elias spat into the dust. "They'll get talking. Pressure comes later." Before Rowan could reply, the ranch communication unit beeped. Lena ran inside and opened the message. A calm voice filled the room. "Carter Ranch. This is Horizon Development. We request a formal visit to discuss your future." Elias walked in behind her. "Request," he muttered. Rowan listened carefully. The message continued, polite but firm, suggesting a meeting within the hour. "They want to see how we react," Rowan said. Lena crossed her arms. "Then we show them we're not scared." Elias nodded slowly. "We meet them here on our land." An hour later, a sleek shuttle appeared over the horizon. Unlike the cargo ships that visited Dry Creek Station, this one moved smoothly, almost silently. It landed near the edge of the field, kicking up only a small cloud of dust. 3 figures stepped out. 2 wore clean gray suits, their posture confident. The third stayed slightly behind, watching quietly. Rowan's body stiffened the moment he saw them. "You know them?" Lena whispered. "Yes," Rowan replied softly. The lead agent approached with an easy smile. "Mr. Carter, Miss Carter," he greeted. "We appreciate your time." Elias didn't return the smile. "Say what you came to say." The agent's eyes flicked briefly toward Rowan. Recognition flashed again, stronger this time. "Mr. Hale," he said smoothly. "We wondered where you had gone." Lena felt anger rise at the tone, like Rowan was something misplaced. Rowan remained calm. "I left," he said simply. The agent nodded as if amused. "Yes. You made an unexpected decision." Elias stepped forward slightly. "You here to talk business or dig up old stories?" The agent chuckled lightly. "Business, of course. Horizon Development wants to expand operations across this region. Your ranch sits on valuable ground. We offer generous compensation." Lena shook her head immediately. "We're not selling." The agent's smile didn't fade, but something colder appeared behind it. "You may reconsider when you understand the full scope of our project." "What project?" Elias demanded. The agent gestured toward the canyon. "Deep resource extraction, new infrastructure, protection services, progress." Rowan spoke before anyone else. "Control," he said. The agent turned toward him, eyes narrowing slightly. "You always were perceptive." Lena stepped closer to Rowan, standing beside him. "We said no," she repeated. The agent sighed softly, as if disappointed. "Frontier independence is admirable, but refusing cooperation may lead to complications." Elias' voice hardened. "Are you threatening us?" "Of course not," the agent replied smoothly, "simply explaining reality." Behind him, the third figure activated a small device. A holographic display appeared, showing maps of the region, ranches marked with colored lights. Several were already labeled as acquired. Lena felt her stomach twist. The agent continued, "Many of your neighbors have already accepted our offer. Standing alone can be difficult." Rowan stepped forward slightly. "And when they refuse?" he asked. The agent met his gaze. "We find ways to encourage cooperation." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Elias spoke. "We're done talking." The agent's smile faded just a little. "Very well," he said. "We will return when you are ready to make wiser choices." They turned and walked back toward the shuttle. Before boarding, the agent glanced over his shoulder at Rowan. "You could come back," he said quietly. "Your skills are still valuable." Rowan didn't hesitate. "No." The shuttle lifted into the sky and disappeared toward the canyon. The moment it vanished, Lena exhaled slowly. "That felt wrong," she said. "It was meant to," Rowan replied. "They want fear to grow." Elias looked at both of them. "Then we don't give it space." Over the next few days, Rowan worked nonstop. He upgraded the ranch network, connecting sensors into a hidden grid that monitored every approach. He built signal boosters using scrap metal and old drone parts. Lena helped him, learning quickly. She liked how he explained things simply, never making her feel inexperienced. One evening, as they worked near the barn, she asked quietly, "Why didn't you go back with them? It would be easier." Rowan paused. "Easy is not always right," he said. "I left because I didn't want to help people lose their homes." Lena smiled softly. "I'm glad you came here." Rowan looked at her, surprised by the warmth in her voice. That night the fence alarm screamed, not a small warning beep, a full alert. Elias grabbed his rifle. Rowan activated the defense grid. Lena rushed to the control panel. "Multiple contacts," she said quickly. North and west. Outside, several drones approached, moving faster than before. Rowan stayed calm. Activate barrier lights. Bright beams lit the field, revealing the machines clearly. They hesitated at the edge of the fence. Elias lifted the rifle, but waited. The drones scanned briefly, then stopped. After a moment, they turned away. Lena blinked. They're leaving, Rowan nodded slowly. They wanted to see if we were ready. Elias lowered the rifle, and now they know. The next morning, news spread through Dry Creek Station. Several ranchers had refused Horizon's offer together. Rowan's system upgrades had been shared with neighbors. For the first time, the colony felt united. Pressure from Horizon slowed. Days passed, then weeks. The strange lights in the sky disappeared. One evening, Elias sat on the porch watching the sunset. Rowan joined him quietly. You stayed, Elias said. Yes, Rowan replied. Elias nodded slowly. Good. It wasn't a long speech, but it was acceptance. Behind them, Lena stepped onto the porch carrying 3 cups of coffee. She handed one to Rowan, smiling. The ranch felt different now, stronger, alive. Rowan had arrived in rags, judged by appearance alone, but he had proven himself not with loud words but with steady actions. Lena watched the horizon and felt something warm inside her. The future was still uncertain. Frontier life always was, but now they faced it together. And for the first time since the strange lights appeared, Red Mesa Prime felt peaceful again, not because danger had vanished, but because they were no longer alone.